Hi guys, I'm Boss Nekomamushi, and in this video I'll try to compare the differences between the old metagame of Pokemon VGC 2016 with the new one coming with the 7th generation titles, Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon, and that will characterize the World Championships in 2017. The old format allowed players to use 2 big legendaries among the principal ones of all the 6 generations. And it also allowed it to use an unlimited number of other kinds of legendaries, with the exception of mythical Pokemon. It also allowed players to Mega Evolve one Pokemon a match. Mega Evolution is a process with which a Pokemon changes its form, increases its statistics, and also often changes its ability. And it's used to obtain a more offensive power from a Pokemon, and also to use a particular ability in a particular moment of a match. These rules led players to use at least one primal in their teams. A primal is a Pokemon that can change its form and increase its offensive power by using a particular instrument that it's not a Mega Stone, and its transformation is not considered a Mega Evolution. So this changing of form could be considered another Mega Evolution that could be added to the normal one. There are 2 primals, Groudon and Kyogre. Each one has an influence on the weather in the battlefield, which contrasts with the other primals one. Some players decided to use both primals in their teams, in order to choose if using one or both according to the features of their opponent's team. These players occupied both the slots of a big legendary with the primals, while on the other end the players that decided to use only one primal had the possibility of choosing another big legendary for their teams, and in this case the choice could be very different. Many players choose Rayquaza. The choice of Rayquaza is linked with its particular ability called Airlock. Airlock erases the effects of weather in the battlefield, so it's very useful to contrast the effects of the ability of a primal, for example. So if you have Kyogre and Rayquaza, and in the battlefield there is a Groudon with a desolate land, you can use water types attacks and knock out Groudon easily. Also Rayquaza is a Pokemon that can Mega Evolve without the use of Mega Stone. Indeed, Rayquaza can Mega Evolve if he knows a particular move that is called Dragon Ascent. This fact allowed players to give to Rayquaza a particular instrument that could be useful in matches, because a Pokemon that can Mega Evolve has its instrument slot occupied by a Mega Stone. Other players choose different legendaries because they have different strategies, and this also allowed them to Mega Evolve another Pokemon, so they could have a primal, another big legendary, and a Pokemon that could Mega Evolve. Common Pokemon chosen for Mega Evolving were Mega Kangaskhan, Mega Salamence, and at the end of 2016 also Mega Gengar. The remaining Pokemon of a team were Pokemon used to support Pokemon with an offensive pressures, such as Primals and Mega Evolved Pokemon, against the opposing team strategies. Supporting Pokemon were chosen, for example, for their abilities. An example is Talonflame. Talonflame has an ability which gives priority to flying type moves, and so it could be used to set a Tailwind as the first move of a match. Other abilities used very often were, for example, Intimidate or Levitate, useful against a Pokemon which has powerful Earth moves such as Groudon. Supporting Pokemons were chosen also for their defensive statistics and for their moves. Indeed, a supporting Pokemon had to resist the powerful moves of the opponent's Pokemon, and also it had to support the offensive power of a primal or of a Mega Evolved Pokemon, for example controlling speed, lowering the opponent's Pokemon statistics, or controlling the status of the opposing Pokemon. A Pokemon used very often in this sense was Smeargle. Smeargle is a Pokemon which can learn almost all Pokemon moves, and in particular it can learn Dark Void. Dark Void is a move that is the particular move of a mythical Pokemon called Darkrai, but Darkrai could not be used in competitions. Dark Void is a move that can put asleep both the opponent's Pokemons with the accuracy of the 80%. Also, the fact that Smeargle could learn this powerful move was associated with Smeargle's particular ability called Moody. Moody increases the stats of 2 stages and decreases another one of 1 stage at the end of each turn. This could, for example, increase Smeargle's accuracy, evasiveness or speed, and this could be useful in a match. So, for Pokemon team, very common in the 2016 was a team formed by a Primal, another legendary Pokemon that could be another Primal, or for example Rayquaza. If it is not Rayquaza, the team also included a Pokemon that could Mega Evolve, and the completing ones were supporting Pokemon. With these rules, the strategies players used the most were, for example, the ones linked to speed control, obtained through the use of moves such as Tailwind, Icy Wind or Trick Room, and which allowed players to know exactly the order of moves of Pokemon on the battlefield. So this allowed players to hit first with Pokemon with great offensive power against the opponent's team. Because of the success of Primals, also controlling weather was an important strategy. Indeed, weather can influence a lot the performance of a Primal Pokemon in a match. In order to obtain the correct weather condition for a Primal, players use support moves such as, for example, Skill Swap. Another very common strategy was the so-called Fake Out Pressure. Fake Out Pressure is based on a move that is called Fake Out, that does not allow a Pokemon that is hit from this move to do anything in that turn. But an important thing to say is that Fake Out could be used only the first turn after a Pokemon entered the battlefield. Talking about strategy, a very important strategical Pokemon was Smeargle. Smeargle indeed is a Pokemon that cannot learn only Dark Void, but it can learn almost all Pokemon moves. So players, for example, gave it the move Transform in order to transform Smeargle in, for example, a Primal or a Mega Evolved Pokemon, in order to add a great offensive power on that side of the field. So in order to resume the features of teams in 2016, we can say that there were Pokemon with a great offensive power, Primals and Mega Evolved Pokemon, supported by Pokemon which could put them in the correct position to do the greatest possible amount of damage. This could be done controlling the speed of Pokemon on the battlefield, controlling the weather conditions, or changing the status of the opponent's Pokemons. An example of this is the move Dark Void, but there are many others. Another example is the Pokemon Among Us, used for its move Spore and for its ability Regenerator. In the end, I want to analyze a bit the strategy used by Wolfie Glick, who is the winner of the World Championships of 2016. Wolfie's team is a team which is constructed to do a lot of switches. In this team, the offensive power is given by Kyogre and Rayquaza. This is a very intelligent combination, because Kyogre cannot use his powerful water moves in a situation in which a Groudon has activated his ability Desolate Land. This problem is solved through the use of Rayquaza's ability Airlock. Also, Rayquaza could Mega Evolve and so increase its offensive power. But the very interesting part of Wolfie's strategy is the part linked with the supporting Pokemon. Very often the supporting Pokemon were Raichu and Hitmontop. Hitmontop had the instrument Eject Button. This instrument allows the Pokemon to return to its trainer when it's hit, but Hitmontop also had the ability Intimidate, with which it could decrease the attack of the opponent's Pokémons of one stage. So Hitmontop could exit and enter the battlefield very often, and in this way it could decrease a lot the offensive power of physical moves of the opponent's Pokémon. But also Raichu had the feature that allowed it to do many free switches. Indeed, Raichu had the move Volt Switch. Volt Switch allows Raichu to hit the opponent and then forces it to return to its trainer. On the other hand, both Raichu and Hitmontop had the move Fake Out. In this way, Wolfie could use this move almost always in order to stop the strategy of his opponent. Raichu was also trained to be very strong defensively, and it also had the instrument Assault Vest. Assault Vest forces a Pokémon to use offensive moves, but it increases a lot the special defense of this Pokémon. In this way, Raichu could survive against a very strong move, and then it could use the move Endeavor. It is very difficult to teach Endeavor to a Raichu, and this move allowed Raichu to decrease a lot the health of a Pokémon on the battlefield. Also, despite the fact that Raichu had the Assault Vest, it could always paralyze the opponent's Pokémons with the move Nuzzle. Wolfie also had two other Pokémons, Gengar, which could evolve in Mega Gengar in order to force the opponent's Pokémons to stay in the battlefield, and Bronzong, used as a supporting Pokémon in that situations in which it was needed. Bronzong is a Pokémon used for its move Gravity, Trick Room, Skill Swap, and so supporting Pokémon that could be useful in many situations. Despite the fact that this team was used by many players, Wolfie managed to win because his strategy of switching was did in a correct way and put the enemy always in the worst position. So Wolfie was always in a best position and could always take advantage of this position. The new format is completely different because players will be able to use only Pokémon from Alola Pokédex and obtained in Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon. So there will not be the possibility of using Primals or Rayquaza, but another important rule introduced with this new format is the fact that players cannot use Mega Stones, so players cannot Mega Evolve their Pokémon. So Pokémon Company has decided to do this radical change in the rules of Pokémon Battle for the World Championships of 2017, and these radical changes are not limited only to that, because also history in Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon will be completely different from the one that we saw in the other previous principal titles. Indeed, there will not be gyms and gym leaders, and so the process of gaining experience as a trainer for the protagonist of the story will be completely different from the one that we have seen since the beginning with Pokemon Red and Blue. This new format will introduce also Z moves. Z moves are particular and very powerful moves that can be used by a trainer only once a match. There will be a Z move for each particular type, and there are also moves that are characteristic of a particular species of Pokemon. For example, there are Z moves for Raichu, Pikachu, Eevee, Snorlax. The fact that Z moves can be used only once a match implies that the timing is very important. Indeed, the trainer has to choose very well the moment in which using Z moves in order to be sure of hitting the opponent's Pokémon. Another important feature of Z moves is that these moves can be used by all Pokémon. So our opponent does not know which Pokémon will use a Z move in the match. This fact not only leads to a sort of mind game between the two trainers, but it's also very important because it allows a player to spread the offensive power of a team among all the Pokémons. This implies that all Pokémons, also support ones, can put an offensive pressure. But also we have to consider that will be introduced new Pokémons, and with them new moves and abilities that will lead to new important combinations. An example of this is the new Pokemon Oranguru. This Pokemon is the only one that can learn the move Instruct, and this move forces a Pokemon to repeat immediately the last move he did. But it also has the ability Telepathy, which allows it to evade a move that is done by a Pokemon on the same side of the battlefield. So for example, if we have a powerful Pokemon with a great offensive move, such as for example Earthquake, with Oranguru we can force this Pokemon to repeat the Earthquake and to hit twice both Pokemon of the opponent with a great powerful move. And also, in this way Oranguru will not be hit by the Earthquakes because of its ability Telepathy. So it is very interesting combination. But despite the fact that have been revealed also a few Pokémons, the new abilities that we have seen are very interesting. An example is Comfy, one that is called Triage. Triage gives high priority to healing moves, so it can be very useful to support the Pokémon on our side of the field. Another important example is Mimikyu Disguise. With this ability, Mimikyu does not receive damage from the first move that it did, and so gives it more freedom in order to do a particular move that could set the battlefield, such as for example Freak Room, or moves that will change the status of the opponent's Pokémons. But there are other examples, such as Wimpod Wimpout. This ability allows Wimpod to escape the battle, so to return the trainer when its health is under 50%. So in this case we can do a free switch without the use of an instrument or a move. Another example is Pyukumuku Inner's Out. This ability allows this Pokemon to inflict damage to the Pokemon that put it KO equal to the health that Pyukumuku had before the move that put it KO. A very interesting one is Braxis Dazzling. This ability does not allow the trainers to use priority moves, so it could be very interesting to contrast the Fake Out Pressure, for example. The last combination I want to talk about is the one with Tapu Koko and Alolan Raichu. Indeed, Tapu Koko is a particular Pokemon that has the ability Electric Surge. With this ability, Tapu Koko can create an electric field when it enters the battlefield, and Raichu, the Alolan Raichu, has the ability Surge Surfer. This ability allows it to double its speed when there is an electric field on the battlefield. So putting both these Pokemon we create a condition in which electric move will be more powerful, and also probably Raichu is the fastest Pokemon on the battlefield. So it's a very interesting position. In the end I want to talk about the so-called Z forms. These forms have not been confirmed yet. These maybe will be alternative forms for the last stage of the evolution of the starters. This information has not been confirmed yet, but comes from a Chinese leak that also talked about new Pokemons and new features of Sun and Moon, such as for example the introduction of Ask Greninja, and that have been confirmed later by the Pokemon Company. So probably also this information will be true. If this will be confirmed, probably this form will be linked only to the relationship between the trainer and the Pokemon. So will be not introduced instrument or particular moves that will lead to this form changing. So we can consider it a new kind of mega evolution without the utilization of an instrument or of a move, so different from the ones, for example, of Kangaskhan and of Rayquaza. The instrument linked to this Z form will be probably the Z ring, that is the instrument also used to do Z moves. So if this will be confirmed, probably starters will be used a lot in competitive battles. Another information that comes from the leak is that the last stage of the evolution of the Firestarter, Nitten, will have also the fighting type. This information is very interesting because if Z forms will be confirmed, probably the starters will have more powerful statistics with this changing of form and maybe new abilities. In this situation, the fire starter will be the most disadvantaged among the three. Indeed, the last evolutive stage of Rowlet will be a grass flying type Pokemon, with an advantage on both the last evolutive stage of Popplio, that will have water type, and on the Litten final stage that will have fighting type. Also, flying type Pokemon are often fast Pokemon, so it will be able to hit first both of them. On the other hand, the last evolutive stage of Popplio is a water type Pokemon, and so it will probably able to learn the move Ice Beam. With the move Ice Beam, it will able to hit the last evolutive stage of Rowlet with a super effective move on both the grass type and the fighting type. On the other hand, it has a type advantage on the last evolutive stage of Litten. In the end, let's try to do some conclusions. First of all, we have to say that there will be many possibilities, and this is because there won't be too powerful Pokemon on the battlefield, and the offensive power will be distributed because of Z moves could be learned by all Pokemon. So this fact underlines the importance of choosing the correct support Pokemon. Indeed, if before support Pokemons had almost the same features, so defensive stats and almost the same moves, such as for example Trick Room or Skill Swap or Gravity, in this new format support Pokemons will be different for each strategy, and the importance of choosing the correct move set and the correct support Pokemon with the correct ability according to the strategy we choose to do will be the key of success. We have also to say that the importance of weather in the battles will be reduced a lot, because there won't be primals and weather conditions so will be changed very easily in the battlefield. So if a strategy is linked to a particular weather condition, will be easily contrasted by the opponent. Of course, strategies based on changing status of opponent's Pokemon with paralysis or putting them asleep will be very interesting and very successful, but we have to underline the fact that some Pokemons will easily contrast this strategy, such as for example Comfey with its particular ability. We have to say that the most important thing that will decide the result of a battle will be speed control. Indeed, doing the first moves will be something that will put us in the correct position for our strategy. And if we does not have this particular speed advantage, we will forced to contrast the opponent's strategy without having the possibility of doing a strategy we have planned. So speed control will be very important, because the player that will be able to set the battlefield according to its particular strategy first will have great chances of winning the match. We have also to say that very few Pokemons have been revealed, so it is not possible to create hypotheses about new teams. And when there will be more information, I will do some videos in which I try to analyze new possible strategies. That's all for today. If you like the video, put a like or subscribe. I'm Mosnek Mamushi. Bye.